It is a beautiful day outside, and I just think you're going to enjoy the sunshine. It's a lovely day. I'm sat in shade in my garden. Today we're going to be carrying on with the Mr. Gun book. It depends how many chapters we can do. I've got a nice lolly at the moment. So let's start. Does everyone remember where we were up to? Here we go. Chapter 3. Mr. Gum lays his plan like the horror he is. The next morning, Mr. Gum was in the butcher's shop. The butcher was a scrawny old man called Billy William the Third, and no one knew what the third bit meant. I reckon he was in prison when he was younger, and his number was number 3, said Jonathan Ripples, the fattest man in town. Maybe it's because he's the third nastiest person in town, said the little girl called Peter. Tell you what I think, said Martin Laundrette, who ran the laundrette. When he was a young man, he was probably in prison and... Hey, said Jonathan Ripples, stop stealing my ideas. Shut up, said Martin Laundrette. Why don't you just go on a diet? Of course, Billy William the Third has his own theory. It's 'cause I'm actually royalty, he would tell anyone foolish enough to listen. I'm third in line for the throne of England and them other geezers. He pronounced England in this way. Other words he said funny were hospital, fountain, and funny. Nobody believed Billy William the Third's story about being royalty except for Billy William himself. And even he didn't believe it most of the time. But he enjoyed lying. It made him laugh. Not a nice laugh, like you and I would do, but a sneaky old laugh on the inside when nobody else would see. Anyway, forget it. The most important thing was that Mr. Gum had gone to B.W. the Third's butcher's shop, which was called Billy William the Third's Right Royal Meats, to buy the biggest load of meat he could get his angry hands on. He had a plan. I've got a plan, he told Billy William. Next time that whopper dog comes a-playing on my lawn, well, he better watch out, that's all. My plan is the best. You can be laying down all that meat and poisoning it so that barking fatty eats it all and fall down dead, guessed Billy William. Maybe I am, said Mr. Gum, a little annoyed that the butcher had guessed the plan so quickly. He had been looking forward to explaining it with detail and impressing Billy William with his cleverness and bad heart. Talking of bad heart, said the butcher, here's 3 pounds of it. It's been sitting on the sun since last Tuesday. That ought to poison him, and no mistake, Mr. Gum, my old slipper. Why did you leave it sitting out in the sun? Said Mr. Gum, taking the horrible sloppy bag from the disgusting butcher. I like watching the flies go mad over it, laughed Billy William. They're funty. You see, that was how he pronounced the word funny. It's the funtiest sight in all of England. I laughed so hard I nearly had to go to the hospital. Well, thank you, me old gobbler, said Mr. Gum, handing over some money that Billy William would later discover had been made out of lies and broken promises, and with that he left the shop. Out in the high street, Mr. Gum remembered he hadn't been nasty to anyone for over 10 minutes. He looked around for any children who might be playing or just walking or anything. It didn't really matter what they were doing. Even reading a book would just be fine. Just some children he could be nasty to. There were none to be seen, so he went and bought a newspaper. He opened it up at a photo of a 10-year-old boy who just won the world record for secret burping. This'll do nicely, said Mr. Gum, and he scowled at the photograph all the way home, hardly even looking where he was going. At one point he tripped over a stone, which made him feel like the burper was somehow beating him. But that only made him scowl harder than ever. So you see, I've won again, he said with a proud smile, while he quickly turned back into a scowl. Back home, Mr. Gum locked all the doors and windows, even the broken ones. Then he sat down to think on the old sailor's chest, which stood in the front hall. It was a beautiful old thing made of mahogany, carved with with amazing scenes of life at sea. With waves and whales and tall ships, Mr. Gum had owned the sailor's chest for over 40 years, but he had never once taken the time to appreciate its beauty. What's more, Mr. Gum had never once thought to open that beautiful chest and see what was inside. Had he done so, it might have been a very different story indeed. It might have been Mr. Gum's chocolatey adventure. Because I'll tell you something, the old chest had once belonged to a sailor called Nathaniel Surname, the hero of the high seas. Hi, hmm? I'm recording it. One, uh, one, one Tuesday ago, One Tuesday long ago, he had saved a Spanish village from being destroyed by a terrible pirate called Kevin. As a prize, the village presented Nathaniel with the chest, which was absolutely stuffed full of chocolate. Not just any chocolate, not just any old chocolate, mind you, but special chocolate, made by dolphins of the region. And it might just be legend, but some said it was magic chocolate with fantastic powers, and they had always whispered it when they said it, which is why it is written so small, and how the chest ended up at Mr. Gum's house, nobody knows. But there it stood for over 40 years, unloved and unopened. As a result, Mr. Gum had never discovered Nathaniel's sugary treasure, which just goes to prove that angry people always miss out on their rewards. They are too busy snipping and gripping that they never see the good side around them, as the famous song goes. Do, 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 do. So it was that Mr. Gum found himself sitting on a sailor's fortune that might have been magic chocolate in terrible ignorance, hatching evil. How do I know these cow hearts are going to be rotten enough? He asked himself. He asked himself presently. I'd better try eating one myself, and if it kills me, then I'll know it's rotten enough. He bit a whole cow's heart and opened his mouth wide. This is one of the craftiest things I've ever done, he chuckled, raising the smelly greenish meat to his lips. I am a very clever man. Mr. Gum was just about to take a bite when he realised that might not be such a clever idea after all. He put the heart back into the bag and thoughtfully scratched his beard. Not the beard that grew on his chin, but the spare one that grew on the wall, which he used for scratching from time to time. In the end, he decided to soak the rotten hearts in rat poison just to be sure. It can't fail, he cackled. Old Dogger is in for a surprise. You won't like it all. Chapter 4. Mr. Gum has a cup of tea. Mr. Gum had a cup of tea. Look out for Chapter 5 in my next video. Bye! Leave a like and subscribe if you want to. Bye!